Hello there and welcome to Rajiv Gandhi IAS Academy. This is me Nawazish Nihal and today I'll be discussing daily news analysis for the 5th January. So moving on with our first news. The first news about the Crime Multi-Agency Center and states were told by the center to share intel on a common gate, that is multi-agency center, and the union government has asked the state to share more intelligence input through this platform, and this will help in as a common counter-terrorism grid under the intelligence bureau, that is IB. And it was made operational in around 2001 when Kargil was happening. After that, this connected grid of multi-agency center was mm, operational, and also there are about 28 organization working inside it under this crime multi-agency center, and these are from raw is working inside it, and armed forces there, and state police are a part of this platform, and also various securities are also working, which are sharing intel on this platform. But the IB is saying, and different perspective have been came up, that states are reluctant, and it is said by the in a meeting to the home ministry, the IB said that the state are often reluctant to share information on this platform, and there are several gaps. There are gaps in information sharing, which is critical for the right movement. So this meeting was done by the home ministry, and this was done to give a push to the efforts, and there are around 400 secured cities connected with MAC. So around 400 cities in India are sharing information on this platform, and the reluctance on the part of state was also stated in this parliamentary standing committee report, which was done in 2020. And in that standing committee report, it was also said that states are a kind of showing a reluctance to this initiative of sharing their intelligence information with the union. And also the IB director has told the committee that there had been a few instances where some state agencies hesitated, means the state police or the state intelligence hesitated to share the information. So what is basically this crime act, so or crime multi-agency center? So it was launched for sharing the information on heinous crime and other issues related to interstate coordination. So interstate coordination is one of the main criteria of this, what we can say, crime act, crime multi-agency, cry for crime, and MAC, as we have discussed, multi-agency center. So this is about crime act, and this is in association with the NCTC, that is NCTC, that is National Cyber Crime Training Center, National Cyber Crime Training Center, because at the end all this crime act will have to upload their information through some software, and also they will be uploading it on the government server. So this was done in association with the National Cyber Crime Training Center, NCTC, and this was launched basically for professional quality of e-learning service on cyber crime investigation on a larger scale, and which can be accessed by police officer, judge, prosecutor, and other stakeholders also. So moving on, see, this is like this all initiative was launched by NCRB, that is National Crime Record Bureau. So we have to know a little about this, because every year NCRB release some kind of report or some kind of data which became important when it comes to UPSC examination. So NCRB was set up in about 1986 under the Ministry of Home Affairs to function as a repository of information on crime, criminals, and to assist the investigator in linking crime to the perpetrators. And its headquarters is in New Delhi. And also, it was set up on the recommendation of National Police Commission and the Ministry of Home Affairs Task Force. So, on recommendation of National Police Commission and MHA Task Force, this was set up basically, and it was constitution by the merging different branches, like it was merging of DCPC, that is Directorate of Coordination and Police Control, and also it was merged with Interstate Criminals Data Branch of CBI, and also Central Fingerprint Bureau of CBI. These all were merged together, and many organizations also were merged together to form this NCRB, that is National Crime Record Bureau. And it developed CCTNS, as we have discussed here. CCTNS also, that it has to maintain some interconnection between different kind of data, so which interconnects about 15,000 police stations and about 6,000 high officers across the country. And it kind of digitize data related to FIR registration, investigation, and everything related to crime control. So we have to, like, what are some important initiative we have to know about this NCRB. So first initiative is about coordination, because a large network can help in coordinating and networking among the police station. And the next one is this NAFIS, 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 that is National Fingerprinting Identification System. It kinds of, as it is relevant from its name, it provides a database of fingerprints helping in solving crimes. And also it is network based pan India system. Means suppose a criminal fingerprint is recorded in Delhi, it can be accessed in Chennai also. And also it publish many reports, as I have discussed earlier. For example, there is this crime in India report, means how the crime is happening in India. And also there is this accidental deaths and suicide report, so how much suicides have been happening in India. So these kind of reports are released by NCRB. One important report is also this prison statistic. It shows the condition of prison in India, and whenever these reports are released, they are must have we have to see those reports, because while quoting our in main answer, while presenting data, although those data, or we have to grasp the core of the issue, these data are not that much important, but still they help us in forming a opinion. This data help us in forming an opinion. So whenever these kind of reports will come, we will definitely be discussing it. And it's moving on with the next news. There's this, we all know that recently Niti Aayog released its health ranking, and it was a very kind of a demotivating factor for Rajasthan, because many health right activists on in Rajasthan expressed concern over their Niti Aayog, which gave low ranking in the health index fall report. We all know health index 4 report was released, and it gives a low ranking to Rajasthan. And with the findings that health had stagnated, and health services were deteriorated in most part of the Rajasthan. And this report was titled as Healthy State Progressive India. Healthy States Progressive India. Although these names are not that much important, but still, hence we are covering this topic. I am discussing this. Healthy State Progressive India. So this report was prepared by Niti Aayog, and it was done with the in synchronization with World Bank and Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So and the thing with Rajasthan is that it placed Rajasthan at 16th rank, and UP and Bihar and one more state was there. One of the 19th state were being ranked, and Rajasthan was on 16th. So Rajasthan has been depicted as the worst performer in health outcome in many cases, like neonatal case and under 5 and maternal mortality rate and tuberculosis rate, and tuberculosis treatment also, and institutional deliveries. In this kind of comparison, Rajasthan was at very much lower place. So what is this exactly? State health indication report or state health index. So this is, as I have said, the title of the report was Healthy State Progressive India. This was the title of the report, and it ranks state and union territory. It both rank states and union territory on their year or an incremental performance. So the keyword here is incremental performance. So suppose state is working poorer, but still it kind of make a large impact on ground, and increment is there, but still it's still poorer than the other states, but that will come on higher grounds on that ranking. So incremental performance is measured. And something about this report is that this is kind of an annual tool to access the performance of the states and UT on health guidelines. And also it is based on 24 indicators, like I have discussed. There is this neonatal and morbidity rate, and tuberculosis treatment rate. So simply like that, 24 indicators are there which govern the health outcomes and the information over there. So uh, one of the in if, like what we can say, the indicator is the health outcome, and it is one of the most important indicator, and includes health parameter like mortality rate. Okay, as I have discussed in the case of Rajasthan, mortality rate and under 5 mortality rate, and also sex ratio. So these kind of things come under the health outcome. And there is this governance parameter also. These are not the whole 24 indicators are not that much important, but some of the indicators are important. First is health outcome, and second is this governance parameter. And it includes parameters such as institutional deliveries, like how government is performing in that area, institutional deliveries. Okay, and like number of senior officer in a health service. So these kind of parameters are there in governance. And moving on, so what is the significance of this index? So first significance is quite relevant, that it will help in us in making policy making, because until and unless we know how things are happening at ground, we cannot be giving us a solution of that problem. So, and also there is this healthy competition will be there developed between a state, because a state will try to improve their ranking. As I have said that now Rajasthan is concerned that how to improve their ranking. And also there will be like competition between different states. And there is this also, it will help in achieving this SDG goal. We all know sustainable development goals, and the exercise is expected to help uh, like states and union territories effort toward the achievement of health related goals in sustainable development goal. And also this universal health coverage, UHC, and other health outcomes will be like kind of addressed in this kind of indexes and report. And also it will also help in are making a role in national health mission, because we all know like many western countries had great national health mission, like there's something of the which can they be proud of. So India is also on that line, planning to develop our national health mission, so that can be guaranteed to each and every citizen. So it can help. The importance of this annual tool is that it re-emphasized this like family welfare ministry to link index to incentives under this national health mission. So different incentives can be provided, but still this kind of index have some limitation, because critical areas are not covered in this kind of index. See, what I mean to say by critical areas is that some critical areas that are like, suppose infectious diseases happening, and non-communicable diseases are happening, and mental health is there. So these kind of diseases are not covered in this index, and financial risk is there to some patient. So these kind of index are not covered, and critical areas are not covered, we can say in simple terms. So also there is this limited data is there, means the kind of data we need to have to make a good report of what actually happening on ground is there. For several indicators, the data is limited to service delivery only in public facilities, of course. And due to this paucity and uneven availability of the private sector data on health sector, we are facing this problem. And for outcome indicators such as mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, maternity rate, data are available only for larger state. So only larger states can are giving good data, but for smaller states the data is still a problem. And there is this issue of verification also, because for several indicators, health management information system, which we commonly known as HIMS, health information management system, it is a live system which we can see, sorry, not HMIS, but not HIMS, but HMIS, that is health management information system. So in this, data and program data were used without any field verification due to the lack of feasibility of conducting independent field survey. So this was for this Rajasthan's concern over this Niti Aayog report. So sorry for that. So hope you understand it. So moving on to the next news. So the legal age of marriage, as we all know, is there is this proposal to increase the legal age of marriage of girls from 18 to 21. So the Odisha state has made a kind of opposes this kind of thing, because the Odisha State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, that is OSCPCR, PCR, Odisha State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, has opposed this move to raise the legal age of marriage from 21 of girls to 21 years age, saying it would not be effective in preventing child marriage. So the main goal of this bill is that to remove this child marriage thing, or to prevent this child marriage thing. But this commission is saying that it will not help in removing the child marriage, because it could create like this term of unwed mothers. Because we see why this unwed mothers creation, unwed mothers scenario will happen, because see, in 18 years we have the freedom to choose a partner, or we have the freedom of a consensual sex at 18 years, but we do not have a freedom to get married. So there is this gap of 3 years. And suppose if someone is getting pregnant, or some lady is getting pregnant, so that will be a unwed mother. So what will happen to that child? Because if that, because that man cannot marry that lady, because that lady is still 18 years, so what will happen to that cat, what will happen to that girl? So this kind of thing is there. And the change of legislation is in isolation will never be able to stop this child marriage, because there is this socio behavioral change should be there among the parents and the community. So this was all the things said by Odisha, this commission was CPCR, that is Odisha State Commission for Protection of Child. So this was all the things, and they also mentioned this, the number of cases registered. So in NCRB, like I have discussed earlier in this presentation only, that National Crime Record Bureau says that only 785 cases were registered under this Child Marriage Act in 2020, and it rose to, like, it was 523 in 2019 and 501 in 2018. So the number of cases is still low. So the problem is somewhere else, because the NFHS 5 data, National Family Health Survey data, fifth one, shows that about 23.3% of girls were marrying before the legal age. So if this much girls are getting married before the legal age, why there's only this low cases were being registered? So the problem do not lie in the legislative part, it lies somewhere else, and we have to counter those things, because just making a legislation on that cannot going will not going to solve this problem. Okay. And also the Protection of Child from Sexual Offense Act 2012 has restricted consensual sex. So as I have said, so the unwed mother condition will be there. So what is this pros of raising, there must be some pros of raising minimum age. So there is this child welfare, women and child welfare, we can see child and women welfare. So what's the welfare? So the poverty of the mother plays the greater role of all. Okay, both in relation to her undernourished child and that of herself. Okay, so an early child marriage and consequent early pregnancy will impact the nutritional level of mother. So nutritional level of mother will go down if that will happen. So raising it will kind of help it. And also women's empowerment is concerned with this raising the minimum age. Women's empowerment is there. And also gender parity is there, because the mother says that childbearing affects educational level and living conditional and health conditional and decision making power of a woman. So these all things are a concern of a woman, and these kind of things affect her. The childbearing capacity of a woman can affect this kind of educational level. So a woman empowerment should be done, because if a 21-year-old lady is doing a bearing a child, so the maturity level and the educational level would be different. And also it will help in tackling child marriage, because we all know that currently 18 is the minimum year to be get married for a girl. So India is the home to largest number of underage marriage in the world, and the law will definitely help to curb this. But at the same time there are different cons for raising the age of the marriage, because it will also be difficult for like fighting child marriage. Okay, because see, on one hand it is kind of improving the condition in child marriages, but on the other hand it will be difficult for child marriage. And what are the reason for that? So the implementation of the child marriage law is difficult. The evidence which we have suggests that when law is used, it is mostly to penalize young adults. So the penalization of the young adult will happen, and self arranged marriage would be there. So that kind of way the child marriage would there's a possibility that it may increase. And the law to prevent child marriage does not work very well till now. And as I have said earlier about the NFHS 5 data, so there we have a huge problem of child marriage in India, because while child marriage has declined, it has been marginal. Like in 2015-16, in 2015-16 the NFHS 5 data shows that 27% of child marriage is there, but still, and that in 2019-20 the child marriage decreased to 23%. And so this is kind of also a natural decline is there. So if we are trying to force something, it might hinder the trajectory of this negative growth. And also 70% of early marriages take place in deprived community cases of like SCs and STs. So unless and until we are escalating the condition of living condition of the deprived section of the community, like SCs, ST and tribals, so the law will simply push these marriage underground instead of preventing them. So these are the different cons of this like this act. And also the way forward should be like because see, whenever we are writing an answer in UPSC, we just don't have to show the problem, we have to show the way forward also, that how as an administrator we would be like implementing those ideas. So first thing is through education. Boosting education is one of the major key while removing child marriage, because activists say the answer to delaying child marriage lies in ensuring access to education. Since the practice is a social and economical issue, it's not and like not a legislative issue, it's a social and economic issue. So due to this the education should be given to the deprived section, and skill and business training in sex education in school will also help. Not just a normal education, also the child in school should be taught about sex education, because that's the only way they will know that okay, what's the minimum age to hit puberty, or when they will be mature enough to get married. And also we can have like increase the accessibility to school. If we are increasing the accessibility to school, is increase school accessibility. So if we are increasing the school accessibility, the government needs to look into this, because especially for child, because including their transportation and the to their institute, because the most of the deprived section SCs and ST, we have seen that most of them are living in far flung areas or the remote areas. So we have to connect them to the main areas, especially to those areas where there's this access to education. So that's the only way they will be guaranteed education. And also awareness program is needed, not just simple awareness program, but mass awareness program is needed when it comes to child marriage, because and on massive scale it is needed, because it will encourage the social acceptance of the new legislation. Because if suppose if we are making a law, government is making a law that 18 is from now on, 18 is, it's now 21, but still if society is not accepting it, that will still be a taboo thing. So this will most of the larger section of society will be criminal. So we have to like make sure that society is also accepting what the government is telling. So mass awareness program is needed in this. So moving on with the next news, there was this a meeting with the world powers over nuclear arsenal, and China said that it will continue to modernize its nuclear arsenal, and also called upon US and Russia to reduce their own stockpiles, and after global powers pledge to prevent such weapons from spreading. And also, this was a rare joint statement, setting aside the West East tension. The US, China, Russia, Britain, and France, every major of the world power, said that their goal of creating a world free of atomic weapons. So, this is a kind of a huge step for world peace, also. And also the Chinese spokesperson said that it's not on the burden of China to make sure that nuclear arsenal are not there in the world, because the US and Russia have about 90% of the world nuclear warhead. So China kind of make a point that developed countries are not on the forefront of a nuclear warhead, because US and Russia, because we all know there's this whole after World War II, in there this whole Cold War was happening, and there was this whole race between Russia and USA to develop their arsenal, and especially nuclear arsenal. So what are the different approach done by India to for this nuclear doctrine? So first we have to know what is our nuclear doctrine. So a nuclear doctrine states how a nuclear weapon states would employ its nuclear weapons during peace and war. So how a state will employ a nuclear weapon in peace and war situation. So for what's the procedure for peace and what's the procedure for war. So how a state is going to establish this. So the doctrine helps to establish our deterrence, always we can say adversary. And also through the nuclear doctrine, a state can communicate its intention. Okay, so it also help in communicating the intention of the state and resolve the enemy. So, and also the doctrine guides the state's response during war, because everyone will be knowing that what's the doctrine of the state. So during war it can help whole world that how a state gonna take its next step. So also what's the Indian nuclear history. So Indian nuclear history, like the development of nuclear program, goes back to 1940s under the guidance of, we all know, Homi J. Baba. And there is this famous Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC, which is currently looking into this whole development of new nuclear energy and nuclear weapons also. And now the nuclear weapons part is on the DRDO, but still Bhabha Atomic Research Center is actively looking into development of nuclear programs in India. And Nehru was against nuclear weapons, so he pleaded with superpowers for comprehensive nuclear disarmament. So Nehru was the one who approached for disarmament of the nuclear powers, and but still the nuclear arsenal, we all know, kept rising. And when communist China conducted nuclear test in October, in October 1964, the Chinese government, the communist China, conducted a nuclear test, and the five nuclear power, they were like US, UK, USSR, because at that moment Russia was not there, USSR was there, and this France was there, and then also China was there. So these were the earliest nuclear power, and they tried to impose this nuclear non-proliferation treaty (NPT) to the rest of the world. So these five countries which already had this nuclear arsenal tries to impose this NPT to the rest of world. That is nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So what is this nuclear non-proliferation technology? Treaty. So in 1968, the treaty entered into force in from 1970, and we all know that there are about like 190 member states of this treaty, and it requires country to give up any present or future plans to build nuclear weapons. And there are three main objectives of this non-proliferation treaty. The first objective is non-proliferation itself, non-proliferation, and the second objective is disarmament. Suppose they already have acquired the nuclear arsenal, so disarmament. And the third objective is right to peacefully use nuclear technology. So these are the three objectives of the NPT, and India is only one of the five countries that either did not sign the NPT or signed but withdrawn, and thus became a part of, like, there are other countries which have the same objective or same kind of vision towards NPT are Pakistan, Israel, North Korea, and South Sudan. So these four countries have same objective of NPT as of India, that is Pakistan, Israel, North Korea, and South Sudan. These are on the line of India because India is only one of the only five countries that either did not sign the NPT, or even if they sign, they withdraw. Okay, so India always consider NPT as discriminatory, and thus India has refused to sign it. And India has opposed the international treaties also aimed at non-proliferation, since they are selectively applicable to India non-nuclear powers also, and kind of, we can say, legitimize the monopoly of the five nuclear weapon power. And who are these five nuclear weapon power? So these are US, UK, Russia, France, and China. So there's this turning point in India's nuclear strategy after the 1998 nuclear test. So what happened in 1998? That India tested its. We all know that Pokhran happened, and after that, India came up with the policy of no first use and few of nuclear weapon. So the doctrine was first adopted in January 2003, that India will not use nuclear weapon on the first basis, and it says that nuclear weapon will only be used in retaliation against our nuclear attack on Indian territory or Indian force anywhere. And since the adoption of nuclear doctrine, India has said consistently that its nuclear weapons were based on staggering and punitive relation, and if a war is happening. And Pakistan, by contrast, has openly threatened India with the use of nuclear weapon on multiple occasions, right from the beginning of two nations, and not even acknowledged nuclear powers like other nuclear powers. So after this 1998 nuclear test, India has this no first use of doctrine. So what is this basically advantage of this no first use doctrine? So the, like, first advantage is that the NFU policy facilitate restrained nuclear weapons program. So weapons programs are facilitated with tactical weapons and a complement command and control system. So like, weapons program cannot be like arbitrary, and this doctrine also minimize the probability of nuclear use by avoiding the development of weapons on higher trigger alert. So less alert is there because the country is not always on alert to use the nuclear weapon. And also the doctrine also reduce the chances of unnecessary chaos, because suppose if there is no there is this policy is not there, so everyone will be thinking, okay, when the nuclear war will happen. But as we know that India has this policy of no first use, so the chaos is not there, and the onus of taking that decision to escalate a nuclear issue or the use lies on the adversary. And also the strict adherence to this doctrine can strengthen India's effort to gain membership of this nuclear supplier group, NSG, and also United Nations Security Council. So India is working very hard to be a member of these two groups, like NSG and this United Nations Security Council. But still, although there are many advantages, there are some disadvantages also. So going on with the disadvantage, or we can simply say the argument against the NFU, that the idea of no first use of nuclear weapons has been rejected by some nuclear weapon states and accepted only as desultory level, so not accepted by all. not accepted by all. And the nuclear weapons are often seen as antidote to conventional inferiority, as the inferior party will seek to deter conventional attack by threatening a nuclear response. So inferior priority is there. And also one of the major cause of this argument which is against the NFU is that the first use nuclear doctrine, as we all know that this kind of doctrine will what we can say, this introduce a element of nuclear risk to any war contemplated by superior state. So nuclear risk is also there if a superior state is like on war, and it is hard for the potential attacker to calculate that it can achieve victory at an acceptable cost, where there's this possibility of nuclear acceleration. So nuclear escalation can also happen in this kind of thing. So nuclear escalation is there. So what are the way forward? So simply we need a dynamic concept of all doctrine, and they need review. And same is the case with India also need a review of this kind of concept. And if Indian policymakers feel a need to review the nation's nuclear doctrine, they should be cognizant of the cost involved. So they should know that what are the cost involved if they are reviewing this kind of thing. And a sound policy debate should happen, because this can only ensure if the cost and benefits of which is perpetrated policy shift are discussed and debated. And also India must gradually revise its posture of active deterrence, because India already have this, like in international diplomacy, India has this image of active deterrence and decisive deterrence by building up its infrastructure along the border. So this should be India should revise it. And also like India, China too has also a NFU and no first use policy. So it provides an opportunity to work jointly towards a global no first use. So India and China both can work all together, so that they can pursue rest of the world for a no first use nuclear order world. So this was about the first use. And this was about this today. And there's this also a little news about Omicron spread, and how it will gonna cost the GDP. And there is this, like simply SDFC said that about GDP will shrink about 20 to 30 basic point and BPS. And RBI had already projected this kind of growth, 6% growth in its monetary policy meeting in December. And the return of uncertainty around growth and inflation due to spread of this variant might delay the RBI decision to hike the reverse repo rate. So which was about, RBI was thinking of hiking the reverse repo rate by 2022, but now the RBI have to rethink about this. And also going about what we know about Omicron virus. So it is of the most troubling category kind of virus. And it's also there is this delta virus also, delta variant. So these are all variant of that old COVID-19 etc. So and there is the variant actually goes around a large number of mutation, and this kind of mutation cause this kind of viruses. And the situation in India is uh, is not in the same as it was, and it's also deregulating. And the studies indicate that a large portion of the population is already exposed to this virus. And if we are not taking control, like a third wave could also come to India. And approximately 44% of Indian adults have been fully vaccinated, and 82% have received like kind of single dose. So we have to speed up this vaccination process if we are trying to trying to stop this virus. And scientists believe that prior infection followed by one or two doses of vaccination may have a larger protective effect. And if someone is priorly infected, it kind of give a protective effect. So what are the way forward? So simply, like we all know what happened during wave 1 and 2. So travel ban is there, and public health measure is there, COVID appropriate behavior which are we are saying. So health measures are there. and whatever the lessons we have learned from mm, wave 1 and wave 2, we have to apply those lessons in this also. So hope you got the points, and thank you for watching this, and do subscribe to our Telegram channel and our YouTube channel for a detailed explanation of daily current affairs. Thank you.